va, ça va, ça va, ça va, ça va. J'ai besoin d'une chanson ce matin parce que j'ai un peu fatigué parce que how do I say that? J'ai prendre assez de temps sur mon téléphone ce matin, mais j'ai fait travail. J'ai fait travail. All right, let's play a track. Strong for a detox. Jesus.
See, I swear, I ain't never seen the sky so clear.
Do you know how good that sounds on speakers? Forget about it. Allora, cominciamo. Today, we will be discussing. Well, first, let's get our MAFIA goggles on, all right? Because we're in class, so we're gonna be able to. This is a MAFIA class, all right? These actually are night vision goggles. I got two, so these are for night. I actually just bought them for DJing, but I might wear them at night if I go for a run just for a laugh. And these are my sunnies for running. They actually they look sick, number one, and they function really well. I wore these on my first run ever, and I had the best run of my life. Don't worry about Oakley, mate. €7 from one of the little chino stores here. They're actually good quality. I'm very impressed. And they're UV protected. So normally with cheap sunglasses, you don't get that. But yeah, I just thought, I'm going to be wearing them for running. I'm probably going to thrash them. I don't need anything crazy. Sort of alludes to what I want to talk about today. So the main topics of today's discussion. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about exercise, physical activity and training, and just sort of finding an approach that works for you. But before we discuss that, I want to talk about this idea of detoxifying your life. And so I do want to also talk about this idea of less being more. And that's a critical sort of phrase when it comes to detoxifying, right? When I introduced the clean eating thing, I think I just mentioned how there's all sorts of factors that come into detoxification. It's not just what you eat. That's obviously one big important part. But let's say you eat 100% whole foods, but your entire skincare routine, the way you wash yourself, all the clothes you're wearing are full of chemicals and shitty products that aren't doing you any favor. Your skin's a massive organ, and not that it will cancel out the work you're doing to eat well, but it's not going to help it. I also mentioned that it's really difficult in a modern life to be 100% organic, detoxified, natural, whatever word you want to use, but it's not possible. We're exposed to Wi-Fi all the time, and if you're not exposed to Wi-Fi and you turn it off in your house, you're probably still picking up on the towers and things like that, and it's not really possible. So finding a balance that works for you is the goal. So just my opinions to start off with, let's talk about the food. If you eat most of your food from the supermarket, you're eating a lot of starchy type of bready type of foods, biscuits, cakes. This is a lot of packaged stuff I'm talking about, right? If you're buying a lot of packaged, pre-made, easy and cheaper food options, whether it's from takeaway stores or just from the supermarket, really it's the same sort of stuff. You got a lot of calories in these foods. I could call them processed goods maybe. I don't really know what to call them, but it's not exclusive to just Aussies or people in the West, America and Britain, or, Mediterranean Europeans. And it's food awareness that is low. And it's kind of supermarket culture and also marketing feeds into this, but I really want to try and stay on track because that's a big thought. If you're eating a lot of bread and packaged and ready-made stuff, okay, what you need to understand is that that stuff is not fresh. Okay? It can't be in the way that it's sold and made. Now, food science exists because of the growth of the population got crazy. And it's like, how do we feed all these people on the planet? Like, it's not possible. The rate in which the population of the earth grew and the food supply wasn't able to meet it. So what we did was we created chemicals that like stabilizers and things that like preserve food, right? In that quicker, unnatural way, right? There's preservation methods of food. You know, the Italians have been doing that since the dawn of time, and I'm sure many other cultures, but, you know, I'll just talk about what my nonna did, you know, the pancetta, for example. How do a lot of these foods come about, you know, from needing to preserve food and keeping food? You know what I mean? So that's a way to preserve food that's more natural, and you're not going to be like consuming all these other chemicals. But food preservation is a thing we need to do just because of there's so many people and it's tough. So on a general global scale, how to feed people. When you're eating like processed goods and foods with a lot of preservatives in them for a long period of time, right? You're changing the microbiome in your gut. So basically your gut chemistry. This is the understanding of it that like will help the everyday person just to kind of put the pieces together, right? Because you don't need to know the full science and the ins and outs. You don't. You just kind of need to understand what's happening. So we have, I should get the chart up, but we have a lot of microbiome or bacteria in our bodies, but we have it in our gut. And more to the point, our digestive system. So where you do your digesting, well, digestion actually starts in the mouth. We have enzymes in our saliva that help us break down food. Obviously, the chewing helps us break down food. We're already starting the process of digestion, right? Goes down, enters our stomach. We have stomach acid that is different to the rest of our esophagus and our mouth. That's why if you ever eat something that gives you heartburn, where does heartburn come from? Heartburn comes from a little bit of that stomach acid coming into your esophagus. Your esophagus doesn't have the right lining. Well, your esophagus doesn't have the same lining as your stomach. So if you get stomach acid in your esophagus, that's where you feel heartburn. Anywho, so you've already done a bit of digesting here. It goes down, it goes into your stomach, then your stomach does more. Then after your stomach, it goes into your large intestine, then your small intestine, I believe, yes, and then into the colon, rectum, out, okay? So that's your whole process of digestion. If you're having digestive issues, there could be an issue in any one of those points. If you're wafting food down, and really no matter what you're eating, unless it's really fine food, you might struggle to digest and you might be having problems. So there's like a whole picture into digestion. But back to the microbiome. So you have bacteria in your stomach, everywhere, but the microbiome of the gut, typically speaking, it's referring to the microbiome in the intestines, so both of them, and the gut, right? Now, what can happen over a long period of time of eating processed foods and, you know, preserved goods, really, with the stuff you get from the supermarket, okay? What happens over time is that your gut will try to assist you and it will rebalance and imbalance certain microbiomes so you can digest this stuff, okay? The human body is amazing. It'll always like work for you, right? And there are side effects to that though, right? Because it's not natural. It's not the way your body is kind of supposed to digest and perform. And you're getting imbalances in the microbiome. This also then will feed your like taste buds and your desires because you've now set up your internal systems. It's like grabbing a computer. Okay, grabbing a computer and then opening up the computer and like changing all the hardware inside and then closing the computer. On the outside, it's still a computer and it's still going to work, but what it needs to like work is going to be different, right? It's kind of the same thing with us. So there are side effects to this stuff though, right? There are side effects. Fatigue, excess adipose tissue, so extra stored fat or carbohydrates. We'll go into that a little bit. Excess inflammation, whether it's visible on the outside, usually is, or in the gut, right? And in that area. Mood imbalances, right? And a lot of these things will be muted via the constant consumption of this type of food and or other compounds, pharmaceuticals, coffee, alcohol, any other substances you want to put on top of that. Okay, so when people that eat without being aware of what they're eating or eat, unconsciously say, oh, I'm fine. Yeah, I like eating this. And then you look at them and they're grossly overweight and they don't look healthy, and their skin's in a shit condition and whatever else. Okay. And I'm saying this from the sense of understanding health. I'm not saying it to judge anybody. I'm just saying it from a health perspective. You can see what's happening a lot of the time on the outside. All right. I've mentioned a million times before. You can tell very much that I deal with fatigue a lot. Why? Because I have crazy eye bags. All right. These are feedback signals that we need to look at, not from a place of tearing ourselves down and thinking we're worth less because of maybe things we're going through and things that are showing up on our bodies, just from a health perspective. And just a side note, the quicker you see your body's feedback as a health thing, the more liberated you're going to feel and the less like shit about yourself you're going to feel when you're having a bit of a flare up or health problems. I would like to add in there as well, this is why I am generally speaking against things like Botox and or surgeries and too much filler, because you need to see the feedback so you can manage your own health. If you're getting like a sore jaw, which I've dealt with, I've got bruxism and TMJ. If you're getting like a sore jaw or bad eye bags or straining anywhere in your face, that could allude to like a deeper problem going on, maybe in your body, but maybe emotionally. So this is why I'm very much for this natural approach to health. So you can like actually use your vessel as that feedback loop so you can keep yourself in good health. When you can really learn to detach. And this is one of the things that via bodybuilding I sort of learned to do. I sort of learned to analyze my body and detach from it. I kind of had to, because otherwise I would have developed like crazy eating disorders and like body dysmorphia, which, to be fair, I believe I still do have body dysmorphia, and not from the sense that like I tear myself down. I just have no idea what I look like. I really don't know how I look. I can't tell. I don't have a full length mirror in this place, but like I really try not to look in the mirror too much, because I just don't know what I'm looking at. I just try and go off how I'm feeling, honestly. Every now and then I will, but I just try and do what I know is good. Anyway, reeling it back in. So these things that we can see on the outside, okay, that we might mentally go, oh no, it's fine, when it's very obviously not fine, right? They are all feedback as to what is going on inside of you. Okay? And you may be waking up alive and getting by your days, but you rely on all these things to sustain that system, because that's kind of what's been set up. So the process of detoxification, more specifically relating to your digestive tract and your digestive system, is incredibly arduous, meaning it's, to say it in MAFIA terms, it's fully fucked. All right? It's tough. And it takes time, right? It takes time. And this is why a lot of people suffer with their health, because they're not prepared to actually put in the work and the time, right, to fixing themselves. I can sit here and tell people, and I do. Just why I kind of stopped that. I just do it in this podcast now, because I want it to land on the ears of people who want to hear it and are ready to hear it and are actually going to take these steps in their life, because it's very frustrating, it's very frustrating to like have people come up to you and complain about shit and you give them the answer and then they just ignore you. It's like, well, shut up then. So I'm not sitting here saying I've never had health problems. I've never had bad gut and I've never eaten this and done that. I'm not sitting here saying that. That's why I have credibility to speak on it. I'm sitting here saying, actually, I had all these problems and more, and now I don't have these problems. What have I done? I've done the MAFIA method. All these years, I've been doing the MAFIA method. Now I've got a name for it. Now I understand it, but that's what I've been doing. Right? And what the MAFIA method is educating yourself, learning what works for you, and a little bit fucking the system a little bit. Right? Saying that to the system a little bit. Right? And what's that to the system is because, like I've mentioned before, unless you know how to navigate this stuff, You'll be running in circles and you will never get answers, and or you will be pushed into surgeries and other procedures and taking medications for the rest of your life that are not treating the root cause of the problem and that are just keeping you in another loop. You're honestly just better off eating like dog shit for the rest of your life than even going to see sometimes these specialists and these professionals. Because at least you're fucking happy doing this. Now you're losing money and you're not actually getting fixed. You're just masking problems. Take it or leave it. That's just my opinion on it, you know? And I'm allowed to say this shit. Why? Because I've been through the system myself, okay? With a bunch of shit. And I've also done my own shit. What fucking worked for me? None of that shit. All of my own shit's worked. And that's the formulation of the MAFIA method. So maybe in some other episodes when it's relevant, I'll go into some stories. But generally speaking, I do save a lot of these like deeper stories on the things I've been through and my experiences for paying clients because I want to tell people stories that are relevant to them. You know what I mean? I want to give people stories that are relevant to them. Nothing's coming up for me right now to talk about, but I've been to so many specialists. I've had gut problems like that were picked up on that weren't. And on top of that, a variety of hormonal health issues as well, which I've managed to heal and work with either or, because your health is also a journey and it's also like a constant push and pull and management. It's not like a destination, you know, it's your health. It's like the vessel that fuels your whole life. It's never going to be like perfect and finished. You know what I mean? To add a little bit more to that, to beef it up, the true detoxification process of like rebalancing your gut microbiome and having your body operate in a better, cleaner way where it's not constantly just like trying to work so hard to like digest this food and like, oh, I need extra fluid here. Okay, I need extra gut there. All right, now I'm going to, you know, feel bloated and this and that. And it's just going to be I'm going to be puffy and like, oh, it's the worst feeling ever. It's the worst feeling ever. You know, if you want to go through that process and have it actually fixed so that then when you're ready, you can slowly reintroduce some of those foods and have those foods in a healthy moderation, right? And those other things or those other substances, should you still wish to dibble dabble, okay? You can do it in a way where you can actually enjoy the experience of it and enjoy it in its isolation and not worry about, and to add to that as well, when you like detoxify properly and spend good time doing that, and then you like reintroduce stuff slowly, you actually learn to appreciate that stuff more. So it's literally a win-win, because when you're like constantly indulging in like these foods that are giving you these quick sugar highs and aren't even really filling your gut, and you're just constantly like up, and you're fucking wired and your eyes are darting everywhere, and then you're carrying a bunch of fluid and you're feeling like dog shit, you're almost like a junkie. And you are. That's what they say, like sugar's the biggest addiction. Sugar's also really misunderstood, as is fat. And people don't understand micronutrients, and it's all marketing. And still to this day, oh, I'm going to cut out sugar and then I'm going to be healthy. And then you're fucked because you're not having any sugars at all. You know, because what else has sugar? A fucking banana. Sugar is just another word for carbohydrate. That's all it means. And generally speaking, we need a good amount of carbohydrates. I have a lot of people, what do you think about carnivore? What do you think about keto? I got thoughts on them, but generally speaking, if you're asking me that question, I can already tell you don't know what the fuck you're on about. So for you to go into a stricter or extreme diet, probably not the best approach for you. Why? Because I know just by you asking that question, you're not going to have the tools to apply it in a way in which you're maybe using it as a bit of an experiment or a tool to support your health, because you don't understand your health, because you're thinking this box is going to make everything better. You're thinking this little package, oh yeah, I'll just do that. It's not that simple. But what is simple is when you understand how this works, then you can take those things and apply it. So for example, I've got a little thing on my range hood that says, just gives me a guide of like what to eat at the times of the day. So I've done like breakfast. Let me go get it. All right. Okay. This is to show you the application of health when you understand food. Now, why I've written this down as well is because I manage so many things for myself, and it's actually such a head fuck to constantly think about what you're eating and food. So for breakfast, I've written keto/slow release carbs with a bit of protein. Then I've written some like things I like to eat. So for me, I've got steak, chicken, eggs, sweet potato or brown rice, veggies, and like berries. Okay. Why I've written keto for breakfast, okay, is because in the morning, I like to start my morning slow. I also like to do brain powered and computer work in the morning, right? Here in Spain, the sun doesn't really come out till later. So it's kind of like nice and gentle and it's super quiet in the morning. I love it. It's so fucking quiet. No one's awake. So I don't need carbohydrates or many carbohydrates because I'm not doing any like exerting activity where I need like quick energy. I'm doing brain powered energy, and brain energy is typically more fat dominant and slower and more gentle. So that's my guide for the morning. In the morning, I try and have more of a keto style meal. And if I'm having carbs, slow release. Okay. Or if I want a little treat, I'm having it after I eat the big keto meal, so I'm already full. Okay. Then for lunch, normally when I have lunch, after lunch, I'm going to go train or do some exercise. So I want here more carbohydrates. So again, I've written more balanced, a pre-gym style meal. And then here, I'm allowed to have more of those sweets. I'm in the day, the sweets are the sugary shit that's going to like, push me up. I'm allowed to have that because I've stabilized my energy through the morning. So now at lunch, I'm peaking. So, all right, have some sweets. And I love my freaking sweets. I love my sweets. My good, proper made sweets, I love them. But here and there, yeah, I'll buy a pack of biscuits now. Here and there. Very rarely. I'd rather make them myself, to be fair, because they taste better anyway. But you know what I mean? I'll get a pack of biscuits, The other day, actually, I bought a box of baklava from a grocer here. And I couldn't believe how good they tasted. They didn't have too much bullshit on them, but they're fucking amazing. For like non-fresh. Oh, unreal. Pistachio, of course. Pistachio. And then I've written dinner, go more keto again, and carbs only for digestion. What I haven't put in here, which for me, it's just like assumed, so I haven't written it down, but for those of you listening, may not be. After the gym, right, I will always, depending on how hard my session was, so if I've done depending on what I've trained and how hard I've trained. So if I've done like a big muscle session, I want to get in some protein, okay? And of course, I've depleted energy, so I want to get in some carbs. So after gym, I'm having like fruit, and when I get home, I'll have some meat or, those quicker proteins like oats, protein oats, the shakes, whatever the fuck else. But if I've gone for a swim, I can sort of wait till dinner. I don't really need to like replenish. I don't swim like crazy. I just take it easy a lot of the time. You know what I mean? So should I be hungry again and want dinner, I could sort of shape my dinner a little bit around what I've just done. So it's a more practical way to eat. But I don't deprive myself of like things I enjoy anymore. Why? Because I'm at that point where I can reintroduce this stuff. And for my health, especially my mental health and my association to food, okay, and for my life enjoyment, I'm Italian, all right? And I'm not saying that to be I'm fucking Italian. I'm saying that because like for us, food is such an integral part of like our love language and how we care for ourselves and our families. And it's like the thing a lot of the time that keeps your family together. And for us, food is like a really central point to our culture. It really is. So for me, when I like am way too restrictive and way limited and I'm not even eating Italian food, I'm not having pasta every now and then or making myself a pizza or, a little baba or like some other thing that I like to eat, I'm depressed. I'm being serious. Like if I haven't had pasta in a while or like some sort of Italian food that reminds me of something I grew up on, my mood will be flat and I won't know why. And I'm like, because I haven't enjoyed my food. You know what I mean? I haven't had that like emotional connection because that's what it is. And that's what it is for a lot of Italians. We're very emotionally connected to our food. It's huge. It's huge. So like I've got this guide, right? So I can like kill two birds with one stone, meaning I can like take care of my health, give me a diet and a way of eating that supports like what I need to do and also my baseline health, but also gives me that enjoyment on top, so I can feel pleasure from my food. Okay. So also I'd like to mention that if my like schedule changes or my life changes or whatever, this will change too. So it's not rigid. And this is why food understanding and health understanding is super important. So you're not locked in because again, it's such a can of worms when someone says, oh, what do you think of carnivore? What do you think of keto? I don't know. Tell me everything about you and your life and the problems you're dealing with. I need to know all of that shit first before I go and recommend you a specific way to eat. Do you know what I'm saying? I hope that makes a bit more sense. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about inflammation because, and I'll be honest, this is a bit of a heavy topic. It's hard for me to talk about because inflammation is obviously not only like a physical side effect, but it is very, very, very much connected to our emotional body. Very much. Again, in times of my life where I was like eating amazing, not taking any substances or drinking, and had a crazy exercise routine, I was super inflamed and struggling to lose weight, which was actually just fluid. Why? Because I was stressed out of my mind and holding on to so many emotions and things. If you think it doesn't have an effect on your mental body or physical body, you're wrong, because it does. There is such thing as energetic weight. There is. Okay? Explain when you go on a holiday and you're eating shit and doing nothing, and you probably come back from this holiday, depending on like how much you've eaten. But generally speaking, you'll come back from this holiday and you're like glowing and leaner and leaner. Why? Because you've relaxed. Don't dismiss the power of the nervous system. Okay? Don't dismiss the power of your emotions. And that's also why I'm on here saying what I'm saying, because it's not just so methodical, right? This is why it's the MAFIA method, right? Because the mafia has its own rules. Mafia doesn't follow the system. Understand? The capisci, right? Like, it's not just input, output, right? We're not computers. As much as I use that analogy to explain the body, computer's a computer. It doesn't have a mind of its own, right? We have free will. We have this energetic body that actually makes us no different from the trees and the bugs and the birds and the bees and the ocean and the animals. We're not technology. We're animals. We're nature. So to approach your health and fitness and your greater life, more to the point, like you're a computer, like you're this input, output, optimized, that's all we can do, and ignoring all these other things, I think it's a little bit silly. Okay? And not only do I think it's silly, I think it's just harming you. So this is where we understand that detoxification is not just about the body and eating clean and buying non-organic, eating clean and buying, organic shampoos and soaps and conditioners and using only organic products on our skin and wearing cotton clothing and linen and silk and all. Like, that's a great part of it. And that's a big part of it on that chemical, biochemical level. But if you're not healthy of mind and you're not connected to your spirit, you're going to feel shit irrespective. So, to the contrary, first we've got the people that are like consuming too much and always trying to like push for more and like having this really high sugar diet and are just like elevated and fucking jittery and like basically a junkie. Okay? Then you have the opposite. Okay? And recently I've been more of the opposite. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've been like really health conscious, really low tox, really chill, really zen, but like to the point where I'm like, where's MAFIA? Like, what's happening? I was like way too flat. And well, he wasn't even eating enough, if I'm really honest, but I was just like so exhausted from being around this type of fucking energy all the time. Okay, because I'm like a very clear channel and I like pick up on and feel shit very easy, right? Which is why I protect my peace with my life now. But if I'm around like all this chaotic fucking energy, to re-regulate myself and to balance myself out, I will like have to take myself down to try and like fucking deal with that. So over the past probably half a year, I've been regulating myself, but I've been really low and down and super organic, super detoxified, leaning up, all the rest of it, looking like healthy, but a little dry in spirit, a little lacking in like that passion and that fire that I love, and that is Julia Mafia, you know, and being creative in bursts, but not really having a lot of energy to do stuff. This is the other side of it, where you can become so obsessed with everything that you like actually just kind of rob yourself of like living a bit and enjoying life a bit. Yeah, so this is where like you can end up in a point where you're so restrictive the other way, and if you don't get out of that, you'll then go down that other path of just being like scared of life almost. So it's a balancing act, and there's a happy medium for everyone. The main point is like you need to identify where you're at, and if you can't identify where you're at, hi, I'm here. That's what I help for. If you're not ready for coaching as well, I do have a consultation where it's literally just like a one-off chat, up to 2 hours. We talk about everything. And at the end of that chat, I give you a PDF with a bunch of recommendations and the things for you to act on or not. So you can actually govern your own health. If you just like kind of want to figure out what's going on, but you want to manage it yourself, because also that can be a beautiful process of like getting to know yourself better. Personally speaking, you know, I still am a human, right? And I still go through it, but generally speaking, I'll be able to pull myself out of it and pick up on it after not too long. So yeah, I sort of noticed in this period of time over the past 6 months where I noticed I was like a bit flat and stuff. I did notice it. And about a month or two ago, I actually realized, oh, I'm getting a little bit obsessive. Like I'm getting a bit obsessive to the point where I'm actually limiting those little incidences of like being happy and like experiencing pleasure. So I noticed that, and then I counted it. So again, like the more you don't feel like your health is such a burden and this thing that is so out of your control, and this thing that is like, oh my God, I need someone all the time. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. The body, the mind. Oh my God, what's a soul and a spirit? What is this? Like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to block it off, or I'm just going to be depressed about it and never do anything about it. Or like, I'm just going to go to a doctor and then be told bullshit and then like never fix it. You don't have to live like that. You don't. But you've got to put some man hours in to educating yourself and learning a bit. Another thing I want to talk about was repurposing stuff and just being smarter with money and actually having less in your life. So, as it stands, I reckon I have the least amount of clothes I've ever had in my life. Granted, need to top up on some high heels, right? But other than that, kind of got everything I need. But I've got the smallest wardrobe I've ever had in my life. And I feel the best. I've got the least amount of clothes I've had in my life. But I feel the best. Okay? Now, it's nice to have stuff. We also need stuff to do stuff. But also, if you drop that judgment, you can make stuff out of nothing. For example, this is a jar, right? I've cleaned it. And I've gotten whatever was in there out of it. Probably this looks like a bit of a peanut butter to me. I put it through the wash. And I use it sometimes if I want a big glass. If I got flowers that I buy myself, I'll put them in there or pick. You know, I had some tea bags in there. So it was a bit of like a decor item. Because I don't give a fuck. Because it's a usable, good quality glass. I could use it for heaps of shit. I've got another glass on my table. It's got a bunch of pens in it. Do you know what I mean? Now, in the grand scheme of saving money, it doesn't fucking save nothing, really. Okay, I bought this peanut butter for like €4, and this would have cost me another €4. Wow. It's not about that. It's about not constantly feeling like you need more when you actually have. And what you could do instead is drop in a little bit and think and be creative. And I think this is like kind of the issue we've gotten into, again, late stage capitalism, where as soon as you like want to do something, it's like, I need to go and buy this for that. I need to go and do all this stuff before I even go there and do it. What if you just started? Like the gym. It's like, oh, to go to the gym, I need like different clothes and I need this and I need that. No, you just need to take yourself, you know? And so there's a saying that's coming to me that we say, it's a cricket saying, all the gear but no idea. It means like the person who has all the equipment and all the stuff, but they have no idea what they're doing. A lot of the time, you could have all the resources, and I, again, speak from personal experience. I've done this so many times. I've had like physically all the resources I need, but I won't execute. Why? Because I'm lacking that like self-trust and that self-belief and that self-confidence to execute. That's the thing that I've identified that I've struggled with. However, sometimes it's actually the act of doing. Do you know what I mean? It's like the act of doing stuff that is lacking and missing. And this is another reason why I'm doing these podcasts, even because I've struggled with the execution a lot. All right. I've struggled with the execution so much. And in this like time of moving, remigrating or migrating and needing to be resourceful and be creative again, right? And create something out of nothing. Not only has it drawn me back to like my love for creating an art and that like that's really who I am at my core, it's also made me understand that like everything you need is within you. And this brings me to the motto for the MAFIA method, which is true strength comes from within. Right? Now, obviously, when you look at me and when I fucking post my photos and I whatever, like, yeah, okay, I'm strong physically. I'm physically fit. Physically fit. Okay, I'm fit. Cool. That's a part of it. But what's made me strong? Yeah. Not the training. Not the training. What's made me truly strong? Not the training. Right? The things that have made me strong, going through the worst things in my life, being fully broke twice, right? Being in fucked up situations where I didn't know if I was going to live on the street or not, and somehow still finding a way. And a lot of that also came through having a willingness and an openness to be vulnerable, having a willingness and an openness to ask for help. A lot of us think that asking for help means we're weak. Okay, it might mean you're weak at that point in time in an area of your life, but asking for help doesn't make you weak-minded. Actually, it's a sign of strength to admit to yourself to the level of needing to ask somebody else for assistance. It's a sign of strength to admit, you know what? This isn't going well right now, or I need help in that area. It's a sign of strength to get deep enough to yourself to admit that to yourself, to then reach out for assistance around that, to then fix it, right? If you had footings of a building and they were cracking, right, and you just left them to crack because their footings are supposed to be strong, isn't that silly? If you saw the footing starting to crack, wouldn't you be like, fuck, we're going to sort this out, we're going to look at it, we're going to do something because these are really integral to the building. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, take it back to yourself. If your footings or things within you that are really important to your daily function of life are starting to crack, and you go, no, well, I'm supposed to be strong, and everyone thinks I'm strong, and I'm strong on the outside, I'm strong. So you let that stuff be ignored, okay? You're actually putting more pressure on yourself, and you're actively making those cracks worse, and no one's going to know until the building collapses. And then it's like, what the fuck, how did this happen? And then that's much worse of a cleanup for you and everybody else involved or anyone else who's in the building. Does that make sense? Okay? There's strength in vulnerability. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. There's strength in vulnerability. Personally speaking, I've always struggled to cry. And since converting to Islam and learning that crying is purifying the soul and it's softening you and brings you actually closer to God, any chance I get to cry, I embrace it. I embrace it. And also, crying is medicine. It's got like Let me read this out to you. It's actually crazy. Crying physically helps the body self-soothe and regulate emotions. It releases endorphins. Okay, so it releases endorphins and oxytocin, which makes you feel good. Natural painkillers and mood enhancers. It lowers stress. It carries away stress hormones such as cortisol, and it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So your sympathetic is the one that makes you like fight, and your parasympathetic, it like rests you and restores you and makes you chill out a bit. So if the spiritual shit doesn't sell you, not only is there like energetic and mental benefits to releasing emotion in that way, crying and letting things out actually physically heals you. Because if it's there, it needs to come out and it needs to be done. Again, the body has so many amazing mechanisms to heal us. We can heal. We're designed to heal. We're very, very, very resistant animals because we've got all these crazy things that we do automatically without even being aware of it that like fix us. So if you like resist all these things that come up constantly, you're actually putting yourself in a state of worse health. So should you have cracks in your footings, my first set of advice would be not to ignore that. Okay? Another thing that's really important is to try. So perhaps you haven't sought the right help, but should you be trying to actively solve the issue in the way that you know how, that's better than letting those cracks continue. At least you're trying. I don't think people are dumb for like going to doctors, for stuff they don't know about. At least you're like trying to address whatever problems you're dealing with. Whether it's something that a doctor can help with or not, like a sprained ankle or depression and anxiety, at least you're saying, I need help with this. I don't know what to do. That's like an amazing quality to have, because for a lot of us, my old self included, that's the thing I struggled with the most, to take that step, to go and ask for that help, And this is why like I typically mentally align with a lot of men, because men do that, Men don't want to cry. All generalizations here, but men don't like crying. They're shamed if they show emotion or cry. Okay, the only emotion really that's been accepted in the masculine side of society is like to be angry. So a lot of their emotion will come out as anger or rage or domination, right? That's the only emotion they've been told is manly to express. So not only does it harm everyone around them, it harms them internally. And, I'm a man, I'm a grown man, I don't need fucking help. Again, let's take it back a bit. You're a human, right? You're a human. Okay, maybe you're grown now, so there's some different fucking responsibilities and different ways you got to act, right? But also, if you grew up, meaning you passed time, that's all growing up means. It just means you're older. Some people can be 50 and still be mentally 16, okay? So you might be in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, but you might have the emotional maturity of a 12-year-old, right? Because you may not have actually grown up and matured, right? And the reverse can be true. Some people can grow up earlier, and that changes them as well. So when you drop your own judgments on yourself and you just understand that, like, God, I don't have to always have it together all the time. And, maybe if I actually just surrendered a bit of that, like, pain and trying not to always know what's going on and just, like, letting myself actually sit in those emotions, you'd be shocked at what comes up and you'd be shocked at what comes out. Yeah. But it's also, we don't allow ourselves the time and the space to do that. Like, we don't. And we're just like racing constantly to like shove it down. We're always fucking shoving shit away in boxes and drawers, and like eventually the drawer gets full and you're gonna snap the freaking joints and everything else, and it'll just come spilling out. So I think I've covered that nicely and in depth. God, I was gonna talk about what type of training's right for you. This might be tomorrow episode. I think I'll talk about that tomorrow. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. I've spent so much time on my phone and computer this morning, and I'm like a bit flat because I just like, ugh. I don't want to keep looking at a screen all the time. So I'm going to wrap this up. And that's it. Ciao for now, Mafia. Se va.